exhausting arguments into lasting agreements. So we'll decode the strategies that titans of industries and even FBI hostage negotiators use to create connection and get what they want. And we'll show you how to use them, not in a boardroom, but in your living room. Now, this isn't being cold or calculated. It's about being smart, empathetic, and effective. It's about learning to negotiate for your relationship together. He says Chicago. Special shout out to Chicago. What they got going on in Chicago? 'Cause I don't know. First 48 didn't happen in Chicago. I think First 48 happened in Los Angeles. And where was Casino Royale in Vegas? Uh, um, I can't remember the name of that movie with Steven Seagal. Face Off. Now, the first and maybe the most important rule of any successful negotiation comes from the landmark Harvard Negotiation Project. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly hard. It can be done, but it's not as easy as you think in the moment. Separate the person from the problem. Now, this is going to be one of the biggest things. Oh, he wants to run. Well, see, now that isn't always a good idea. Now, there are a lot of people who are conflict avoidant and they prefer to run from the problem. But running from the problem doesn't solve the problem. Hiding from the problem doesn't solve the problem. Um, we only talk about the fight or flight response, not the freeze response, because masculinity requires us to either fight or make a tactical retreat so that we can survive to fight another day. But freezing in fear, which is everything alpha masculine is going to declare anything recognized as fearful as, you know, um, weak. So freezing in fear is not something that is ever recognized, which is why we only acknowledge the two, fight or flight. But truth be told, running from your problems is not going to solve your problems. Running from your problems is only going to allow your problems to get bigger. And when your problems catch up to you, because you can't run forever, now you have compounding problems. And that's an issue. So it's not a good idea to run, but it's not always a good idea to fight either. Sometimes the best fights fought are the ones that are negotiated with words. They say the pen is mightier than the sword, not because the pen can take you out in seconds like a hitman. The pen is mightier than the sword because you can write a letter to an authority figure that has more authority over your situation than the person that you're disagreeing with. And that letter sometimes can lead to reactionary consequences that end up in your favor without you having to swing on anybody. That turns into a win win situation. When you get what you're looking for by talking to the right people. I had a similar situation that happened a while back. I was over in the hospital. I was over there with my service dog. One of the little uh, dudes that fluffed their collars at the front desk of information was harassing me about my service animal, and I had to explain to him the ADA laws. He didn't believe me. So I guess he figured that he was going to get somebody to make me do what he wanted him to do. And I was like, go ahead, get whoever you think you can get. And I'm going to put them in their place so that they could put you in your place because you're out of line. And after I had that nice little conversation with him, about 5 or 10 minutes later, Deputy Doolittle comes over and comes has a conversation with me, and I put him in his place. And then once they realized who I was, they recognized that a few of their partners were already in trouble because of me for the exact same situation in a different location. And as soon as he realized that, he apologized wholeheartedly. And then his partner co-signed on it. And then he went over and told the other guy, don't mess with me when I walk in the building. So every other time that I walk back in, it'll be complete silence when I walk in the room. They don't communicate with me when I walk in, and they don't communicate with me when I walk out. And all I had to do was explain to a higher authority that what they're doing is wrong and showed them how they would be involved in legal action because what they're doing is wrong. That's when people start changing their so simply being able to vocalize, I was able to get cooperation. And that is where the win-win comes from. Michael says, I learned to live with their behavior. No, I refuse to live with negative behavior. I love her at times. I hate her, but really, I can't live without her. You should never have that feeling though. More often than not, you should. Well, always you should love her. Sometimes you're disappointed in her decision making, but you should never be in a situation where you hate your spouse. Even though hatred is defined as being angry at the person that you love, that hatred can actually develop into a level of bitterness. You should be able to, while you guys might not always agree on things, you should be able to have the capabilities of negotiating where you always love her, right? There's never a time where you don't love her. And then there's never a time that you hate her. There's just times that y'all don't see eye to eye in the moment. But before the situation is over, y'all are at least on the same page. And technically, with height differences, we're not supposed to see eye to eye anyway because you should be shorter than me. So I should be looking down on you. There we go. And since you can't live without her, you should not be in situations where she's contemplating wanting to leave because you guys can't compromise on your misunderstandings. You got to remember that part as well. Now, in business, this is going to be everything. You have to imagine you're negotiating with a supplier who's been late with deliveries. A rookie negotiator storms in, guns blazing. Your company is unreliable. You're costing your clients money. You're incompetent. How you doing, Donnie? Good to see you again. Special shout out to Donnie Stephan. This gentleman here is also from Twitter. No, Twitch. I keep getting those mixed up. He's also from Twitch. It's a good to see you again, buddy. He's actually been a long-standing follower on the show almost over a year now, I think, because he was following us, I think, March and April of last year. So hopefully everything's been going well. How was the relationship, by the way? Because I know last you were talking to me, you and your girl were in different colleges and y'all were working things out. Is that still going on, or did it end? Because I know there was some distance there, and y'all know I got some good information for y'all. So if y'all still trying to negotiate those relationships, stay tuned. Stay heavily tuned. Um, in these exact same situations that I was just explaining, the supplier that's receiving all the complaints would immediately throw up walls. Their ego is going to be attacked because if you believe that you're good at your job and situations beyond your control slows you down, that's going to make you feel insulted that you went above and beyond to accommodate your client, and your client is making it seem like you're incompetent. And then he says, I'm glad to hear that. Watching from YouTube right now, and my relationship is over for like 3 months now. Y'all couldn't find common ground, or did like her being the long distance thing not like was a deciding factor there? You're really good here. You're educated. Well, Danny's been here for a long, long time. He used to watch me from the Twitch platform, and he still can watch me from the Twitch platform, but we're a little bit more active on a YouTube platform. And they have not done the transition for TikTok yet. So I have not migrated TikTok into the platform, but and then we would have 4 channels up here to have TikTok up here as well. But that's some of the things that we're trying to work on by the time, the March 2026 happens. So we're gonna have all of the, and then when you have TikTok up here, we're probably gonna have a lot more comments in the comment section because TikTok is talkers. You got to understand the different generations because Twitch is mostly for gamers, but they do have some educated people there. Twitter is mostly news and Elon Musk and Tesla, and TikTok is mostly the youngins from like 14 to 25 that are also mostly gamers, but they do generally navigate towards conflict, less towards educated stuff. So if you're not talking about a volatile topic, they're less likely to be interested in it. So, but they are heavy talkers. YouTube and Twitter are more listeners. Twitch is more watch and enjoy, not so much dance in the comment section. So that goes to show you what market that you're dealing with depending on each platform. Danny says, I realized too late that women can't have long distance relationships, so we just broke up because it didn't work anymore. Yeah, look, long distance relationships are not sustainable in situations where there's not active visual contact with one another and the prioritization of both parties to be in each other's personal space whenever possible. But it takes both sides. You always traveling to her when you can afford it, and then when you can't afford it, y'all spend a bunch of time apart, does not satisfy the relationship. Most women in most relationships in Western culture make it the man's priority to make the relationship work, but it takes both parties. So when the man gets burnt out, the relationship is dead because the women are on autopilot. The men spend most of their life entertaining the women and convincing the women to stay, but the women are not earning their keep in these relationships. And that is where the biggest issues are. So when the men get tired of nurturing a relationship on life support and the man pulls the man is faulted for pulling the plug, but the women who don't contribute is the part of the problem, probably a 60-40 split. But long distance relationships are extremely hard. All I see is belly buttons being sure. That's a good thing. I love me some belly buttons. They have I was looking at this one chick on TikTok one day and she was talking about I don't know what it is with men and belly buttons. It's just there. Well, shoot. You don't know what it is about belly buttons. Well, we don't know what it is about our wallets. Y'all be chasing our wallets away. We be chasing y'all belly buttons, but there it is. Like don't go in with negotiation with negative thoughts. Oh yeah, that's one of the best things. You gotta not have a negative thought though. But it's hard not to have a negative thought, especially when you have unresolved issues from the last misunderstanding or lack of communication, and then that puts you guys into a more compromising problem because you personally are observing multiple situations where you don't feel heard or respected, and you're also recognizing that this is leading to an argument where you're not being heard now, and that's going to lead you to a long-standing feeling that you're being ignored, which is going to cause you to retreat out of your relationship. Danny says the thing is, she did not have things to do when she was alone, and she did not have friends to go out, and most of the time she stayed at home talking to me, and about the money, that was not the problem. Well, money doesn't always have to be the problem. Long distance relationships come from an absence somewhere. Somebody's not getting the attention that they need, the validation that they need, the confirmation that they need. Um, Either you're working too much or you don't have enough time when you're at the house resting to pay attention to her when she wants attention. Some guys have the situation where they decant by playing video games. They stress relief by playing video games, but because they spend too much time on the game for her personal preference, those guys end up being devalued by her because they're not giving her the attention that she wants when she wants it. Because there's two problems with attention. With men, we never get attention, so we just wish we had some at some point ever. With women, they specifically want it at a specific time. So it's not just that we're not giving them attention, it's that we're not giving it to them when they want it. And that is a heightened level of expectation that's not always feasible. And that typically causes an issue. Because the problem that led to the breakup was that she didn't give me any motivation to go at her. That 65-kilometer ride with the train was really mentally draining for me without a motivation. Damn right. I wouldn't be driving that place 65-kilometer drive. Puffy, what was the what's the what the what? I ain't got no warrant out for my arrest. I ain't trying to travel 65 kilometers for shit. Yeah, I don't even like going. There's a 10-mile drive to the grocery store. 10-mile drive to the grocery. It takes 15, 20 minutes to get to the grocery store in bad traffic. And I would spend 15 minutes on my cell phone to order the shit so it's dropped off at my house so I don't got to go outside. So 65 kilometers, that's a soldier move. That is dedication to be traveling 65 miles for a female. That is some serious dedication. And I don't know, she tripping. She did not value, much less motivate. Because if you traveling 65 miles with her, she should have been traveling 65 miles with you. And yeah, I did. I had a lot of things to do there in the city. I had a lot of friends that I go out every day. I play games. I draw. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have a fulfilling life. She apparently didn't. She was making you the source of her entertainment. When you need your space, she feels alone, and that's burdening you to abandon everything else that you normally do in your life so that you can entertain her the whole time that she's awake. You got stuff to do. She going to school and not really necessarily maintaining a full-time job the way you are, and that's going to be a problem. So you weren't getting any action in the well. That's a whole nother issue. Because truth be told, a lot of men make the final straw in the breakup of the relationship because they're not getting laid. Usually, they're being ignored. So because two reasons why men break up is that there is no respect for the man, and then there's infidelity. Now, alongside infidelity, there's a lack of intimacy. But see, the lack of intimacy does lead to the infidelity or the recognition that infidelity is there in some situations. So if a man is not being satisfied in the bedroom and he's not being respected outside the bedroom, or if she got somebody else in the bedroom with her besides her man, these are reasons why a man is like, you know what, fuck this. This is too much shit because the man is carrying the weight of the relationship already. If women were carrying the weight of the relationship, look, if women treated the relationship the way women treat laundry and cleaning, the relationship would be fucking fantastic. Those stay at home moms that cook and clean and keep the house spick and span. If women treated relationships the way stay at home moms treat the house, the relationship would never fail. But in some of these situations, these people have their egos attacked, and the whole conversation becomes a fight, and any chance of a real resolution is gone in these situations. Now, a master negotiator, which is what we're going to be talking about today, on the other hand, frames it as collaboratively as possible. He said, in a 1.5 year relationship, she did not come. 1 year, 5 months, 6 days. That is the statistical average. I told y'all 1 year, 5 months, 6 days. He met the statistical average. Now, he said she did not come here once. Shit, I would have only went there twice, and I would have got laid the second time. And the third time, I'd have been like, nah, this too much effort. He said, and I realized another thing after that, that if you see a problem in a girl and you tell her that she doesn't believe you, oh yeah, she ain't got no respect for you. If you tell her that you have a problem with what she's doing or not doing, and she's not willing to fix that, oh no, that's a dead relationship because you're gonna be unhappy and she don't care. If you as a man have the right to vocalize anything that you are not happy with in the relationship, because as a good man, if she came to you with a concern, you would put in the effort to change it. Likewise, your expectation is that your partner should reciprocate. So if she don't like the way you leave your underwear on the couch and you don't like the way she don't apply herself to come into your house, you're gonna get the underwear off the couch. She need to hop the 65-kilometer train to your house. Danny said, but if someone irrelevant to your relationship tells her that she has that problem, she resolves it. Oh, fuck no. She got less respect for you than society if you tell her that there's something wrong with her and she ignores you, and then somebody else that is completely irrelevant to her tells her the same thing and she will apply it then, but she won't apply it when you talk to her. Man, she would have been out the window. You'd have, one of the she'd have been like Jazz from Fresh Prince. Ah! She she would have had a Chris Brown ride. She'd down a flight of stairs. That makes no sense. Like I said, so we're seeing her by using the train. Yeah, sounds like she did you a favor. Now you can grow. Damn right. Yeah, that was she reckless, bro. She reckless. You did good by pulling out of that because if you would have put another 3 years in, you would have felt duty bound to your investment to try to fix something that you wasn't responsible for that you didn't break. Like I said, I hope I can, Michael. Right now, I don't want a relationship for like the next 10 years. It's not gonna be 10 years. So statistically, it should be 6 to 9 months minimum. And it should not take more than 2 times the length of time that you were in your relationship. So you were in the relationship for a year and a half. You should have healed and learned from your mistakes in a relationship because while she was not motivated, you have contributive efforts in the failure of the relationship where you allowed certain non negotiable expectations for behavior to occur. And you did not regulate that in the beginning of your relationship inside of the first 6 weeks. And as a result, you fell into a spiral with no control or respect for your own personal well being, where you're not trying to dominate your partner. You're trying to maintain mutual respect. And the problem is that most men have this in their first handful of relationships is that we cow tip to the women, give them whatever they want, do whatever they say because we're hoping that they will stay. And that's not good for us. What's going on, Rooter Us? I have not gotten to your channel yet, but I promise you I'm going to get it to you tonight. I know that you was expecting me to leave a comment, and I definitely will. Now, the thing is, though, Danny, as you work your way through the first 6 months of your breakup, first you gotta make peace with the feelings that you have. Um, and then you analyze the decisions that you made where you did stuff that you probably shouldn't do, but then also look at things that you allowed to happen that you should not have allowed to happen, or things that you did not do that you probably should have done that could have improved the situation from your end. Don't look at your last breakup as simply that's how relationships are, and I don't want to be in a relationship when you go looking for a new partner, which if you start watching any of the shows that we've had over the past 3 months, you will be able to evaluate what to look for in a partner before you start committing to that partner to make sure that you have the type of partner that you will not be disappointed in the long run, which allows you to put your expectations down within the first 2 or 3 dates, just like a resume, where she can decide does she want to meet these expectations or not? If she does, you guys can pursue a long term relationship. If she doesn't, you're not even interested in being friends because men are not interested in being friends with females that they're not interested in sleeping with. So, since you're not trying to have friends with benefits, you're looking for a lifetime partner, you're not going to entertain anyone that doesn't meet your expectations. And as long as your expectations are realistic, there isn't a second date if she doesn't agree to certain demands by the first date. So you shouldn't have to wait 10 years, but you might want to spend a year and a half getting yourself together. And then before you start actively looking, you start with the negotiation we're about to talk about today. You start with just socializing in public so that you can regain your own personal confidence in communication with no intent of getting her number, no intent of following up with that conversation with a date at your expense, no intention of a one night stand after this conversation. You're just talking while you're in this location with the person that's next to you. And once you start feeling comfortable with communicating with women again without the anxiety of what if she rejects me, then you can start pursuing a relationship because you'll get used to talking to them for the sake of talking to them. Now, if you were just interested in a conversation and she come off with the I got a man, well then you're not my type anyway. I thought you were a good person to conversate with in the moment, and I was clearly mistaken. So now I have to reevaluate my observation skills from across the room, because when I came over here looking for a decent conversation, you don't carry yourself as a person that presents a decent conversation. Now, when you tell a woman that, she's gonna dive. I know how to have a decent conversation. Well, it's too late for you to prove that, but I can go ahead and move on to the next person and figure that out. Oh, Michael says, what's that saying? If you fall off the horse? Oh, yeah. If you fall off the horse, get back on. No problem. You're welcome, Ruderus. I'm always here for you, brother. He says, I can sell ice cubes to an Eskimo. Bro, I can sell a TV to a blind man and a surround sound system to his deaf wife. I am good at what I do. But it's not always what we need to do. Danny says, I say that because here in my city, girls are 80% not loyal and the rest 20% are taken. Well, the fact is that the 80% of girls that you're looking at are not loyal. So you might need to look at a different age group. You don't necessarily have to date a girl that is directly in your city if you know that 80% of the women in your city are not loyal. If you're traveling 85 kilometers, it sounded to me like you're traveling to the next city over. So you should be able to travel 65 or 85 kilometers to a city that has females that are loyal. Loyalty, but you're not necessarily looking for just straight up loyalty, because dogs can be loyal. What you're looking for is a reliable companion that is not going to argue with you, cheat on you, devalue you, use you for your resources. So you just really need to this is what you're spending your first year and a half on. Writing down what you expect a person to do for you, how you expect them to behave in front of you, what kind of expectations you expect to receive from them, and then curate this list into the style of questionnaires where you can start asking the first 20 questions on the first date. If this woman is interested in behaving in this particular type of scenario, find open-ended questions to ask her that gives her to explain what kind of person she is, so that you can compare that to your list to be able to check off, does she fit your requirements? If she doesn't present herself as a helper, that's not what you're looking for. Rita says, another update. My girlfriend gifted me a whole gaming set. Oh man, fantastic. That's what's up. When I am supposed to study. she she know you're gonna succeed, bro. Yeah, you do got to take a break though. You cannot always put yourself in a position where you just work, 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 work. You do got to take breaks. You just got to prioritize those breaks. He said, "Oh, I did get good after that, because she wasn't like my first girlfriend. I had like 11 more before her, and I'm sick of relationships overall, not just because of her." No, of course, most men have that problem. Most men have the situation where we repetitively put ourselves in the same style of situation more often than not, because that's what we're familiar with, not because that's what we deserve. And once we realize that our decision making skills going into the relationship led to us having the relationship that we had, instead of having a census that said 11 out of 11 fails is the reason why I don't want to date anymore, you look at those 11 failures and then you find common values and why they failed, and then change that. Look at the outliers of why they failed and then change that. And if you eliminate the decisions that led you to that date, that led you to that girlfriend, and you eliminate the process where you allow things to happen that you normally are not supposed to allow to happen, then you start building those non negotiable expectations for behavior, so that when your 12th girlfriend comes, she is not going to behave the way the last 11 did. You can spot those 11 red flags from afar. And then you're like Usher talking about, you remind me of a girl I once knew. That's why I can't date you. He said, oh, there are two age groups here. That's one that is 17, 18, 19, and the other one that is 65, 66, and 67. And you're telling me from 65 to 67, them girls ain't loyal. That's a shame. 8 billion humans, and you can't find love? No, he can find love. 8 billion. See, in his city, there might be an age gap where he needs to find somebody between 20 and 30, that he can mesh with, and where he's looking, they're not located at. He might have to go to the city next door. He might have to go 2 cities over. He might have to find somebody from 2 cities over and they meet in the city next door. But there's always another way. You just got to put a little bit more effort into it. Now, while you're not able to find what you're looking for, you're building yourself up and building up your resources so that you can afford to travel further to get you somebody. Because every passport bro that wants to go get him a woman from the Philippines is going to treat him better than an American woman has to put away almost 20 grand to make it happen because they have to pay for their standard of living here in the States and pay for their standard of living for 3 to 6 months over in the Philippines so that the girl that they take back with them is the girl that they want to keep. And if you're going over there with a work visa, you're paying for your standard of living here in America, and you're paying for your standard of living over there in the Philippines, and you're working while you're in the Philippines so that you can stay there for a year. And when you fly back 12 months from now, you're flying back with a wife. But that takes like 20 to 40 grand to do. These mail order brides ain't cheap. 10, $15,000. This shit ain't cheap. He said, I can't find the love that I want here, Michael. And trust me, I never asked a girl to move a mountain for me. And that is the first thing you're going to change on your bucket list. To find the right woman, she needs to not just move mountains, she needs to drain rivers and fill valleys. She needs to build kingdoms in your name because if she's not willing to do that, she is not worth your time. Because if you're the kind of man to reciprocate and do the same, y'all should be able to build twice as much if both of y'all are building for each other. Rita says if you find 80% of girls untrustable, you are probably wrong, and I think won't help traveling to another city. Um, you just need to understand them, probably. Now, that's actually another scenario. If you honestly have a prejudice against a specific group of people, there is a probability that you're assuming that they're all not loyal because they all look the same, they all dress the same, and they might all act just as ignorant with one another in a crowded, entertaining space. But because you've had 11 of the same type of person, you cannot assume that 80% of the population in that area is corrupted because 11 between the ages of 17 and 19 is not all of them between the age of 17 and 80. So you just gotta you gotta keep an open mind, brother. Never give up. Never give up. There is always another person because while the planet is split almost 49% men, 51% women, there's slightly more women than men as you start getting closer to 30, and it ends up being 2 to 1. And the women are attached to the men 1 to 1 outside of countries that have a 10 to 1 marriage. So that's going to be one of those situations where you just need to establish what your expectations are and then enforce that from the first date. You don't have to pressure yourself for a first date. You can just put yourself in positions where you're just having casual conversations with people that might lead to them being interested in engaging in a first date with you, where they're going to be the initiator. Because we're in modern 2025. These females need to be asking guys out on dates and paying for the first, second, and third date to prove that these females is valuable. Because why the fuck am I going to entertain a female that I don't even know if I like? I ain't got time for that shit. I got some that come up there be trying to pet my dog and tell me how cute my dog is, and I'm like, thank you so much, and I just walk right the fuck off because I mean, if you would have came and said you was gonna braid my hair, then I'd be like, oh, she got value. See what I'm saying? Like I said, maybe your expectations are too low. No, it's not that his expectations are too low. It's just that he's never established what his expectations are. He said, the other thing is my 21. I don't want to go out with a 66-year-old. Fair enough. You don't got to do that. You don't got to do that. But you could. He said, yeah, you're not serious. Never worry. I was a dumb shit until I found this one. And he said till he found me who helped him uh get out and fix the things and stop being introverted and change his behavior and stop being shy. So you just got to get out there. And Rudos will tell you he's been following the show for like the last 8 months, and I'm telling you that you just got to try it differently. You got to try it differently. And today we're going to be getting into these negotiations, which will help you with communication with them. So when you start talking to them, you'll be able to navigate a little bit better. Leave those 65-year-olds alone. Michael 70. Michael. He said, what city has an age gap like that? I don't know. I'm gonna say, oh wait, he's in Romania. Danny Stefan is in Romania. He is not in America. So there is a very different age gap out there. So I had to remember where he came from. Special shout out to Romania and special shout out to Brazil. But yeah, uh if there ain't enough good ones out there in Romania, bro, go I would say before you go to America, go to the Philippines. Go to the Philippines, go to Japan, go to Vietnam, go to Indonesia, um, go to Rwanda. What was it? Rwanda. Go to Rwanda. Go to Bangladesh. Special shout out to Bangladesh, because those are cheaper places than your country, Romania. Much love from Romania. Yeah. So you can find, and then the women in Rwanda, Kazakhstan, and Bangladesh are hardworking business women. So you can go out there and find you a woman that'll take care of you and let you stay at the house and take care of the kids. Oh no, it's Rwanda. So you've got Rwanda, Rwanda, something like that. It's almost like Wakanda, but it's Rwanda. The problem may be you. Well, a lot of times, um, if we only find fault in the person we broke up with, we end up becoming the problem. Because the same thing that I tell women on a regular basis is that if you have had multiple negative relationships, if you look at each one of those relationships, the common factor in each one of those relationships is you. So you have to look at all of your failed relationships and evaluate your effort and your lack of effort in each one of those relationships where you went wrong, either by the decisions that you made, the decisions you didn't make, or the things that you allowed your partner to do around you that contributed to the devaluation of the relationship. It's not just, it takes two people to come together, it takes two people to fuck it up. It takes three people to have an affair because the person being cheated on contributes to being cheated on by the person that's doing the cheating and the person that's aiding in the cheating. Not too many women are going to agree with that. Women are going to say, no, the cheater is just a cheater because the cheater is a cheater. But the fact is that a woman might cheat on a man because the man is never emotionally available. The man is never at the house. He's always at the job, but the man is at the job working two jobs to take care of the woman because the woman doesn't have a job. But if she does not feel valued in the relationship, she might cheat on him with the tennis instructor. She might cheat on him with the pool boy. She might cheat on him with the landscaper because the landscaper is at the house while the husband is at the job. So the fact is that being able to recognize why a cheater cheats because they're missing something in their relationship, whether it's because they settled for less or they're just not getting what they believe they deserve from their partner, they find that in people that are not in their relationship so that they can have that fulfillment. That's where cheaters come from. So it takes more than two people, at least two people to cheat. So you gotta do some self-evaluations there. Is it I did fuck it up? All right. He said, in my relationships, more than the girls did. And that's why I changed so much in recent years. And that's why I do all the things that I do. And I respect that. 65. So you felt like you wasn't putting enough effort in a relationship before. So now you're overdoing it. Well, don't think that because you overdid it for this girl that you should not put in enough, the same quantity of effort for the next girl because this girl just didn't appreciate your effort. But if you recognize that in past relationships you did not put in enough effort, and you recognize in this relationship you might not have had enough communication, you might have had too much distance between y'all, you might have to reconsider video calls, um, having video dates where y'all both go to the same type of situation, like go out to a movie, and y'all sit and have the phone where y'all can hear each other with the movie, or Netflix if y'all got Netflix in Romania. Netflix allows you to send a link to the other person and y'all can watch the movie together. There's a thing, Skype still exists, where y'all can stream through Skype for free, unlimited calling on your internet, and then have the movie playing in the background. Y'all can play board games together, buy the same board game, and y'all can set it up at the house. Y'all can do stuff like that. Y'all could play chess together online. Y'all, there's a lot of stuff that y'all could do. This man said y'all got sheep. You are not going. He is not about to start dating no sheep. That is not how this is supposed to go down. We have Netflix in Romania. So there you go. So you got Netflix, so y'all can have Netflix, y'all can pop popcorn, and y'all can sit there and watch the same movie together. So there are ways that y'all can spend more time together, but you also have to find a person that not just has the ability to spend time with you, but also has a social life where they can get out and get away from you when you're trying to do your own thing. You just got to change up what you're looking at. That's all. Even if it's a country that people usually don't talk about, we are pretty advanced on that part. Well, I know that. I don't believe that it's the lack of advancement. The thing is that I've come to understand with my live streaming that certain countries ban certain things. So some countries have a block on Netflix. So without a VPN, you might not be able to watch it in your country. That's one of the reasons why I said if you have Netflix, not as if you were not advanced enough. It was that you might actually have a ban against that particular streaming platform, the way YouTube isn't allowed in every country around the world. So, if they allow you guys to use it out there, then you can use Netflix. And if you get the family plan and you got a girlfriend, y'all got the family plan and y'all go half on it. The family plan is like $25. So y'all go half on it like $13 a person, and that's cheaper than the single. I think it's like 15, $16 a month for the single. And then you can watch it, your mom can watch it, she can watch it, her brother can watch it, and y'all got four people on the ticket. You know what I mean? So that helps. So there's a lot of things. We're gonna get back on that. We're gonna get on this over here. We're gonna talk about these shared problems. Because if you start collaborating with your partner, explain to them that we have a shared problem, that something's going wrong, and you explain to them, like, from a factory perspective, that the production line is facing delays because of late deliveries, and we're going to work together to figure this out, and ask for logistical issues, you know a communication breakdown, try to figure out what's going on. That's when you're able to look at it from a scheduling perspective and a production perspective, and determine the needs in a side by side scenario, and find a system that works for both parties. And if you observe the shift between pointing fingers at who's at fault versus recognizing that there is a problem that needs to be fixed, it's no longer a you versus me situation. It is us versus a problem situation. So just like if we're communicating about how there is too much distance between you and your partner, that's the problem. It's not that your partner is not making the trip to you. I mean, it is, but technically, it's not the fact that your partner is not making the trip to you. It's the fact that there's too much distance between you, and collaborating with your partner about how to bridge that distance is the way to work it out. So, for example, you'll go to her on every other week, and she'll come to you every other week, or every other trip, you'll trip to her, and every other trip, she'll trip to you. And that prevents putting the financial burden on you to always make the connection. And then she can make the connection to you. That's a negotiation. If the person providing isn't the enemy, the logistical snag is. Now you're able to analyze the situation without finding fault in each other. Because you got to ask yourself, how many of our fights are just a string of personal attacks? I had a lot of times on this podcast where, when the women did come up and voice their opinion, they were only shaming me as a man for voicing my concerns, for addressing the problem, for providing the statistics. They would give me thumbs down on a podcast just because I said something, not because it wasn't true. You got to think about a common argument over chores. It usually starts with you're lazy, or you never help out, or you're so messy, or I can't live like this. The instant response is going to be defensiveness. I'm not lazy, it's your fault. You know, I work 10 hours a day. I'm not messy. You're just a control freak. You're no longer talking about the dishes in the sink. You're attacking and defending who are you with, and you are not negotiating as people. He said, I'm sorry for laughing. At which point? Because I took off laughing when the man got shot in the head yesterday. So I mean, which point did you start laughing? Um, this recipe for disaster is something that a lot of people experience on a regular basis. The moment that you make the other person the problem, you force them to defend their own identity. They can't agree with you because that would mean admitting that they're wrong. They would have to admit that they're lazy, that they're messy, or a bad person. The conversation stops being about finding a solution and becomes about protecting their ego, their identity. They don't want to be the at fault person. No, very few people, men and women alike, take responsibility, but women less often than men take responsibility because it's a man's responsibility to take responsibility, even if the man didn't cause it. He's supposed to fix it, which is why men grow up being fixers. So, again, how do we fix it? We reframe. Instead of an accusation, you describe the problem as a separate thing, and you're going to state how it makes you feel. You want to use those I statements. We talked about this a while back. You're going to take that messy house example and then come back with remember those typical attacks. You're such a slob. You left the clothes all over the floor again. I feel like I'm living with a teenager. Those are the ones that typically come out. The smart problem focused approach is when there are clothes on the floor in the bedroom, I feel stressed and anxious because the room feels chaotic to me. Can we talk about a system for keeping the room tidy that works for both of us? Now, if you feel the difference there, first is a direct hit on the person. The second is an observation about the situation itself, recognizing clothes on the floor and the expression of your feelings. I feel stressed. He said, "Is it 10 there?" No, there is a time difference over there. Over in Romania, it's like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning over there. We're on the East Coast, so it's like midnight, almost 1 a.m. over here. I start mad late, bruh. When daylight savings time come in November and the clocks go forward an hour, I should be starting the podcast at 10 o'clock on the dot instead of starting it at 10:30. But it's supposed to go forward an hour, so 2 o'clock becomes 3 o'clock, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that means you're supposed to get more sleep." Fuck you mean? If 2 o'clock becomes 3 o'clock, he said you better break up. Hey, as long as the podcast isn't getting kicked off by this glitch in the background, eventually I'm gonna end up getting that laptop. I haven't gotten it yet. It's like 3 grand, but I need a lot of contributions to get that 3 grand. Now, once we get back past expressing our feelings and our concerns about the problem itself, not attacking the person, then it invites the teamwork. Can we talk about a system? It frames the untidy room as a multi problem or a mutual problem to solve together with the both parties that are involved, not a flaw in your partner's character. Now, this works everywhere with your kids. Instead of you're being bad, try hitting your sister is not okay. We need to find a better way to show your sister that you're frustrated, you know, with your parents. Instead of you're controlling, you can try. When I get unsolicited parenting advice, it makes me feel like you don't trust my judgment and I'd love your support, but it would really help me if you ask if I want advice before sharing it. So you're not telling them, don't tell me what to do. I'm grown. You're letting them know that your unsolicited advice discourages me, and I would prefer for you to ask if I'm willing to accept your input before you put your input in. And that allows them to decide whether or not they're going to respect your non negotiable expectations for behavior. It never start a conversation with a negative. The conversation is an art form. It is. And this technique works because instantly lowering your defense is going to help you with negotiations. Because when people don't feel attacked, the logical, problem solving part of their brain can stay in control. When you attack them, their primitive fight, flight, or freeze scenario, that part of the brain is going to take over. And you get absolutely nowhere with them because they're going to fight you until they win, or they're going to retreat from the conversation and you're never going to resolve the problem. And if you try to bring the problem back up another day or another time, you're in the same argument with no resolution because they're going to feel like you're re-attacking them for the same thing that you attacked them for yesterday. So here's your first challenge for the next week. Ban the phrase "you are" from any tough conversation. No more "you are lazy." No more "you are inconsiderate." No more "you are late." Instead, rephrase it to focus on the situation that is not satisfactory. When the trash isn't taken out, I feel. Or when you arrive 20 minutes after we agreed to meet, I feel. This simple shift forces you to separate the person from the problem and opens the door for a real conversation instead of a verbal boxing match. It's easier to put our feet in our mouths. Yes, you're right. We can, some of us put our foot in our mouth and some of us put our foot in our behinds because a lot of the times we are so quick to retaliate to what is being said. We fail to listen to what's being said. And because we fail to listen to what's being said, we never understand what the problem is. Go back an hour. Yeah, but think about remember that conversation that we had a few weeks ago where sometimes women don't tell you what the real problem is. They might be complaining about the sugar not being there, but the real problem is that they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard. That's going to be the issue. Is they go back an hour, two becomes one. I thought it was spring back, fall forward. 10 became two became one in the spring, and that's why we starting so damn early. And then two become three in November, and that means we're gonna be able to start so much later. One of the two is gonna happen. I don't remember which one it was because it happened back in March. But if it's going back an hour where two becomes one and we get an extra hour where right now it's 1 o'clock in the morning, it would switch to 2 o'clock in the morning, which means we'd be extra late. Because I thought it was going to go in the opposite direction where we had an extra hour to sleep. I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But if we do get an extra hour, instead of me starting 30 minutes after the hour, I'll be starting on top of the hour. So we'll figure that part out. Now, the second big secret, another cornerstone of the Harvard method, is to focus on interest, not position. Now, this is the difference between a surface level argument and a real lasting solution. A position is the thing you say you want, a concrete demand. An interest is the why behind what you want. Now, it's the underlying need, desire, or fear that's driving your position. Positional bargaining is just a tug of war. Interest based negotiations is a collaborative search to satisfy everyone's underlying needs. So here's a classic business school example. Two SAR executives both want the same corner office. Their positions are clear, and only one can win. I want that office. If they just argue their position, one will win and one will lose. The loser will be resentful and company morals takes a hit. It's a zero sum game. But a skilled manager would dig for their interests. They'd ask each of them, help me understand why this specific office is so important to you. One might say, my current office is next to a noisy break room and I can't concentrate. I need quiet. The other might say, I have a medical condition that's triggered by fluorescent lights. That corner office gets great natural light, which would make a huge difference for my health. Suddenly, everything changes. Their interests, quiet and natural light, are not mutually exclusive at all. The position, I need that one office, was just one possible solution. Now the manager can get creative. Maybe there's another office with great natural light, or maybe they can move the first executive to a different quiet wing and install natural lamps. The pie just got bigger, and a win win is now possible, all because they moved past their initial demands. This happens in your personal relationships every single day. Most of our reoccurring arguments are just positional battles. Think about the classic vacation argument. His position, I want to go hiking in the mountains. Her position, I want to go to a beach resort. They're stuck. They could compromise a few days at each and both feel a little let down, or one can win and the other can quietly resent it for the whole trip. But what if they looked for the interest? Why does he want the mountains? Maybe he's interested in an adventure, a physical challenge, a break from his phone. He wants to feel active. Why does she want the beach? Maybe her interest is pure relaxation, being pampered, and de stressing from her job. She wants to feel rejuvenated. Their interests, adventure and relaxation, aren't in conflict. The position, mountains versus beach, are, once they know the why, they can brainstorm. Michael said, if your girlfriend acts like a child, she's a keeper. If she acts like your mother, run. I'm going to disagree with that because children are terrible sometimes. I'm going to put hands down, bro. Okay, so if 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 my girlfriend is acting like a well-behaved 6, 7, 8 year old, 9 year old that is thinking logically, rationally, and willing to compromise and negotiate, then fantastic. They respect my authority. I can make the decisions that need to be made. And if a collaboration is needed, I can come and collaborate with my partner. Fantastic. However, if I've got the Girlfriend that's acting like a child, that would be he said, no, you'll still be late. He ain't lying. I'm still gonna be 10, 15. He hit me 30 minutes after I said it. Damn right, I'm probably still gonna be late. Operating on CP time. Y'all on daylight saving time. I'm on CP time. But again, like I was saying, if I have a partner that's having temper tantrums when she doesn't get what she wants, and the only way I can satisfy the temper tantrum is if I do an unconditional surrender, in those situations, that's not beneficial for me. A mother figure is one that's going to cater to my needs, but be controlling at the same time. So if I have a female that is catering to my needs, but not being overly controlling, then I can compromise. But the overly controlling and the temper tantrums are the two underlining factors that I don't want in a relationship, which means that I'm still looking for the ability to cooperate and the ability to contribute to my needs. Whether I get the cooperation from the younger side of her and the contribution from the older side of her, regardless of the fact, I'm still trying to do away with both of those negative factors, the temper tantrums and the controlling behavior. So, what about a resort in Costa Rica that has both beautiful beaches and that'll help her with the relaxing for the wife and zip lining and rainforest hikes? What about a cruise with a spa that also has adventurous port excursions? Suddenly, there are dozens of win win solutions just by stopping the fight over the what and exploring the why. Now, this applies to everything. Arguments about money are rarely about the actual money themselves. One person's position might be we have to save more and stop eating out. The other person's position might be I work hard and I deserve a nice dinner out. The underlining interest. The first person's interest might be security and less anxiety about the future. The second person's interest might be connection and feeling rewarded. It is possible to find a way to create security while also feeling rewarded. So he said, I'll leave them in their cubicles. No, we're going to have them duel to the death. Fear factor. Whoever wins gets the corner office, and whoever loses gets the other corner office. By the time they realize what I just said, there's two corner offices. So why are you fighting for this one? Remember, if you guys can agree, like if you're agreeing on a budget with a specific guilt free amount for date nights, you guys can explore cooking gourmet meals at the home together. You guys can find other solutions that are endless once you know what the problem you're really solving actually is. Your takeaway here is to become a why detective. The next time you're stuck, stop debating the position. Get genuinely curious. Ask questions like, help me understand why that's so important to you. What would that do for you? What's the worry underneath that request? Now, if you really listen to the answer, not just wait to rebuttal, because when you make it your mission to understand their underlying interests, you show that you care about their needs, not just about winning the argument. You stop being opponents and become partners searching for the solution. For example, if I was in a relationship and I have a work schedule that is very tedious, my partner might need me to take them somewhere. Well, If you have me take you on my day off, then I can more conveniently express the time needed to get you where you got to go. Quite frankly, I might only have one legitimate day off a week, but that day will be dedicated to taking you where you need to go first and then doing whatever it is that I wanted to do after that. Now, if the compromise is schedule all your appointments on my day off, you should never contact me and tell me that you have an appointment you want me to entertain on one of my days of work because I'm clearly not going to take you. That's the compromise. Michael says, do you like being told what to do? No. I have come from an upbringing where do as I say, not as I do was not effective. Why you want me to do that is highly important as to whether or not I actually decide to do that. You don't win my loyalty from forced submission. You win my loyalty from making it make sense. So if I understand why you're asking me to perform this action, I might make greater sacrifices for you because I agree with your position or I respect your ability to respect my capabilities. But if you expect me to do it just because you said do it, I'm likely to not do it just because you told me to do it. So if I had a kid, I would negotiate with my kid the same way. I'm not going to tell you what to do with life. I'm going to tell you what you should do, why you should do it, what you shouldn't do, why you shouldn't do it. And then when you start making bad decisions, there are consequences for the bad decisions. The same way there are rewards for the good ones. Whatever you hope to achieve in life will be the positive results from good decisions, and whatever you would hope not to experience will be the end results for your failure. Michael says, "Oh, not talking about having problems. 99 problems, but a chick ain't one. But a girl that is confidence to act as a child. Well, if she's got the confidence to act like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if she can be more like a sponge, like absorbing, doing silly things. Oh yeah, okay. So childish behavior, entertaining, like banter, stuff to that effect. Oh yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the childish behavior. It was a temper tantrum part because yeah, I've had children where we got hide and go seek, we got water guns in the house, we've got pillow fights and all kinds of stuff going on. But at the same time, they're temper tantrums and yelling and screaming and all this other stuff that comes from the kids too. And I'm just gonna be real with you. That's just not that part, the loud, obnoxious part. That's a part of children that I'm like, no, my wife can't act like that. But that's some of the women that they marry though. You gotta think about that. Both playing on the same sheet of music. Exactly. Exactly. If this shift from position to interest is already starting to click for you guys, you are ready to stop fighting and start connecting. So, as we continue on, make sure that you guys do me a favor if you haven't done so already and hit that subscribe button because we're all about giving you guys practical tools that you can use right away to build a better life. And your support helps us keep making this content for you to be able to. He gonna hit me with some he don't understand. He tripping. Oh, you never on time. Why? LOL. I don't understand. Okay, I got you real quick. He asked a question. Why you never on time? Okay, so here's the deal. First, I run this business and three others. Second, I have a lot of technical issues with this computer. I downloaded something somewhere and I don't know what's going on, but there's this malware thing that kicks something up and it negatively impacts the browser. So what I do is I try to get past that before I go live so that it's not kicking me out of the live while I'm live. Three, I have a network problem because the tower in the area defects every time it gets becomes a cloudy day. So then we don't have internet. The way we went offline a few days ago for like 5 minutes and came back on after I got went live on the cell phone. So if I can get that fixed, that turns out to be an issue because sometimes I'm on the phone with the phone company when I'm trying to go live on the show and that interfere because I don't want to be on the phone when I'm supposed to be live, or y'all just listen to me cuss out the people on the phone thing about why I don't have no internet. Then if the internet's down, I can't go live, so I got to wait till the internet comes back up so that I can go live. So right now, I've got 1 to 2 bars on my live stream, and that's why every now and again you see some drop frames because the internet is still not all that stable. But this is the best that they can do with the neighborhood that I'm in. I got to relocate to another location where I'm not by a defective tower. Once I relocate to a non-defective tower, I can experience better quality service. And then the other thing is that sometimes I'm doing my SEOs, I'm working on the script, I'm getting myself something to eat, going to the bathroom. I have to get dressed for the show. I got to make sure that my hair is halfway decent. So there's a lot of things that I do as I get ready for the show, and then I look at the time and I'm like, snap, 20 minutes to pass, and because I don't have extra people on my show where somebody can tap me on the shoulder and say 5 minutes to airtime, 10 minutes to airtime. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. If you look at all the shows that I got scheduled for the next couple of weeks, you're like, damn, he's putting up a bunch of shows. There's a lot of shows I got to do. Then I'm doing research, and then because I write my own script, and like this script here is over 100 pages long. This script is 108 pages long. So I got to write my own script. So I do research about the topic that I'm going to talk about, and then I organize the research into a script. And if you think about how I'm writing 108 pages so that I can talk to you guys about the content that I'm talking about today, you're like, damn, that's a lot of effort because it typically, you know, 2,000 word paper take you about an hour to do. I'm a 2,000 word paper is like 3 pages. I'm at 108 pages, so you got to understand it's a lot of work. So I just lose track of time because I'm my own boss. I start whenever I start, and not everybody is on the show as soon as the show goes live. They usually jump into the show 15 minutes after the show went live. So it doesn't hurt my feelings if I start 30 minutes late because I don't have that many people with a chant in the comment section where 152,000 people are like, start, start, start. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that. So, but I might get it if I show up every day on time. We'll figure it out. But I definitely value you guys, and that's why I do the research that I do because I'm not just here to just talk for the sake of talking, sound biting topics, controversial topics, just so that people can come and debate on them. I literally come and I talk about things that you guys can benefit from. That makes it harder because while most people could give two shits about the topics that I talk about, the people who do care actually benefit from what we're talking about, and that is the benefit that I would like to provide to more people. So you know, it's a toss up. That's what it is. Now, once you've separated the people from the problem and you know the real interest that they have, you get the most creative and you have a powerful phrase that helps you. Investing options for mutual gain. Most of us see negotiations as a fixed pipe. There's a limited amount of value, and the goal is to grab the biggest slice you can. That's a win lose mindset. Great negotiators know their first job isn't to divide the pie, it's to make it bigger. The business side of things is called creating value. So let's say a startup wants a $10 million valuation from a venture capital firm. The venture capital thinks that the company is only worth 5 million. Not enough. That's a classic haggle. They could meet in the middle at 7.5 million, but that's just splitting the difference. A skilled negotiator expands the pie. The startup's interest isn't just money, it's getting the venture capitalist expertise and network. So the venture capitalist interest isn't just a cheap price, it's reducing risk and making sure the company succeeds. So they invent options. What if the valuation is 6 million, but the VC provides two seniors that are partners as advisors, as advisors? What if the valuation is 8 million, but the funding comes in stages as the startup hits milestones, reducing the venture capitalist risks? These options expand the pie. The startup gets more than money, and the venture capitalist gets more than just equity. It's a win-win. He said, "Nope. Here's your pillow. There's the couch." Oh man, you will lose that. You try to put me on a couch. I don't know what you're talking about. Shoot, we don't even got locks on these doors. I'm going to bed in the bed. So if you don't want to be in the bed with me, you on the couch because you I'm in the bed, the dog's in the bed. If there's a cat in the house, the cat's in the bed. There's enough of us like Dr. Doolittle in the bed that when you start talking about some get out, all of us is looking at you like, she. He said, sounds like excuses to me. See, no time for a relationship. Look, I'm going to tell you real quick, Mike. They got some females that'll do that to you. They got some that'll do that to you. They will continue, but that's when you recognize that the person that you're communicating with has absolutely no interest in negotiating a solution. I explained to you the holdup as to what slows me down on coming to the show. I could find certain solutions like stop doing everything that needs to be done 2 hours before the show, focus on getting prepared for the show, and make sure that I'm in position 30 minutes before the show or 20 minutes before the show so that I can start testing my equipment and being ready to go live at the moment that the show goes live. I could also uh, redirect my time to say that I start the show 4 minutes before the show is supposed to go live so that the intro wraps up right when the show is supposed to start so that you're in the show on time unless you want to come to the pre-show soundtrack. I could do that too. He says, do I run you off script? Of course not. That's why I started doing a script. Back in the day, like a year or so ago, when Danny, Stephen, you and I used to talk, I didn't really have a structured script. I had like an outline of some topics that I want to talk about. And then the problem is that if I sidestep and start talking about different conversations where we're supposed to talk about this, that, and everything in between. So straw man topics are supposed to come up. But what happens is that I would lose my train of thought, and then I got to sit there, figure out where was I, and then try not to restate the same thing twice, and then go back in there and start trying to go back off of a script. And then I thought to myself, if I go off of a script, I can find a stopping point in my script, entertain the conversation with you, and then when the conversation dies out, go back to my script, and I'm gonna pick right back up where I leave off, which also makes it seem like when I continue with the script that what you just said or what we just talked about blends right into the moment of the conversation that we're talking about, with the exception of those people that give us left field comments that has me thinking, why did I entertain that in the Is there or I'm a write-in? Oh yeah, you are ad lib. There is a double space in between every paragraph where you're able to fit in there, and then I can move to the next paragraph. um, the mindset that you have behind this is revolutionary in a personal relationship. See how I just segued you back into the script, where we often operate from a place of um, scarcity. We think there's limited time, limited money, limited energy, limited comments in the comment section, and we have to fight for our share of the resources. I don't have to fight. I have an abundance of time. My next contract is in 7.5 hours, so I've got plenty of time to finish this podcast. um, 3 hours and 30 minutes, East Coast. Woo! That's when the that's when time goes forward because right now it is 1:30 on the East Coast. It is 12:30 Central Time, which is 10:30 California time. Yeah, pay attention. So let's look at managing the house. The positional argument is you need to do 50% of the work. That's a lie, but let's run with it. This puts you in a scorekeeping mindset, tallying who did what, which is exhausting. and breeds resentment. Investing options means you stop trying to divide the chores and start redesigning the whole system. The shared interest is we both want to live in a clean, calm house without feeling burnt out and resentful. So from there, you brainstorm. This isn't about a rigid 50-50 split. It's about what's effective and what you both can do to live with that. Maybe one of you hates grocery shopping but doesn't mind cooking. Maybe the other finds cooking stressful but enjoys the quiet time with walking through the store with a podcast like this and that when we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. That's not a 50-50 split of the food task, but it's a solution that plays to your preferences and makes life easier. For relationships where one partner does not like taking out the trash and the other partner does not like doing the dishes, that's fine. You do the dishes, I'll take out the trash. Uh, some partners might switch it up where the person who cooks will set the table and cook, and the person who doesn't cook might clean off the table and tackle the dishes, splitting the charge, splitting the full task in half, but still making compromisable shifts in how the tasks are performed. But you can expand the pie even more. What if you both hate grocery shopping? Can you invest in an option? What about a meal kit service or ordering groceries online? Yeah, they cost money, but they buy back time and killing a source of conflict. What if you both hate cleaning? Can you tweak the budget and hire a cleaner once a month? That $150 might be more happiness than 10 fancy dinners. Think about this. If you've got a house cleaner that might only cost you 40 or 50 bucks to clean a house, you might spend $150 a month to have that person come 3 times a month to clean the house. You might recognize that you're going to put a little bit more effort into keeping your house clean because somebody's coming to your house to clean it. Think about that. This is going to apply to time as well. A couple with kids might argue over who gets free time. The positional fight is you went out last week, so it's my turn. The interest based approach starts with the shared need. We both need to recharge so we can be better parents and partners. Then you're going to invent an option. Instead of fighting over random evenings, what if every Saturday morning is one person's dedicated duty time off and every Sunday morning is the other person's? It's predictable, it's fair, and it stops the constant negotiations. You could hire a babysitter for a floater 4 hours a week that either you or your partner can claim. Or you can hire a babysitter 8 hours a week where both of y'all can take time off together. You've just expanded the pie of free time. So here's what you're going to try. The next time that you're stuck, schedule a separate time to invent, not decide. Set a timer for 15 minutes. The only goal is to generate as many wild, crazy, and creative solutions as possible. No criticism allowed. The rule is yes and not yeah, but. Remember, you're going to say yes and. Reason why you're going to say yes and is because you're going to acknowledge each idea and add to it, not dismiss it with a yeah, but contradicting it with something else. This separates inventing from judging and allows you to discover possibilities you'd never see when you're locked in a defensive fight. He said, so I have no value. No, of course you got value, Mike. Of course you got value. You're written into the script. He said, I'm going to play chess. You clean the house. We're about 40% of the way. Well, no, we're about 60% of the way through, so we're almost done. So we got a little ways to go. We might be able to wrap this up before the top of the next hour, but we're gonna clean house with it. Now, the fourth secret is gonna be your shield against emotional arguments. It's grounding your arguments, your agreements, grounding your agreements in objective criteria. A negotiation should be a joint search for a fair outcome, not a contest of who can be more stubborn or emotionally manipulative. Objective criteria are independent benchmarks of fairness. Separate from what either of you want. He said, remember, tomorrow is family day and enjoy family time at least once per week. Then the trash is gone. You know, it could be a group effort. Y'all can pile up all the trash by the door, and then once a week, everybody grab a bag, and all of y'all are taking out trash. In business, this is going to be a standard practice. You don't just say, I want $100,000 because I feel like I'm worth it. The company doesn't say that. The company doesn't say, we'll only pay $70,000 because that's our number. That's a battle of wills. Instead, you're both using objective criteria. You bring industry salary surveys for the role that you're in your city. You point to the market rate for your level of experience. The company shows its internal salary bands that are benchmarked against competitors. You're no longer arguing about what you want, you're discussing what is fair based on external data. You might find that depending on your work ethic, that there are certain reasons why you're not receiving that raise. Like if you're late all the time, the way I'm late for the podcast, or if you leave early too much, or if you take too many sick days, or if you don't complete your projects in a timely fashion, if your productivity is under par, if your sales are under par, if there's reasons why you're not getting what you're looking for, while you're pointing out your job title versus the pay scale in the market, they're showing your performance levels versus the expectations of performance levels before they even get to the salary bands. Some people are at the top of their salary cap and they don't qualify for promotion because of negative factors in their background, whether it's not enough educational background, too much of a criminal background that prevents them from getting a promotion, and they're at the top of the hourly wage scale. When that happens, the job can't give you any more money on your pay unless you get promoted and you don't qualify for promotion. The only thing they can do is make you one of those that are first picked in your field for overtime hours when overtime hours are authorized. And you'll be one of the first people that get the disappointing news that corporate is cutting back on overtime. But they'll call you in whenever somebody is understaffed. You got to figure that part out. At home, though, we almost never do this. Our disagreements often become a pure battle of wills. I don't feel like we should spend time that much. Well, I feel like we should. I think the kids should go to bed at 8. Well, I think 9 is fine. It's a power struggle. Whoever is more persistent or louder often wins, which leaves the other person feeling steamrolled. Using objective criteria transforms these power struggles. Let's take the bedtime fight, for example. The interest for both parents is the same. We want our kids to be healthy and well rested. Instead of arguing based on feelings, look for objective criteria. And what do American Academy of Pediatrics or child development experts recommend for a child of that age? That data becomes a neutral third party expert in the room. The conversation shifts from my opinion versus yours to how can we best meet the expert recommended sleep needs of our child within our family's schedule? Me myself, because I believe this is a game changer for money arguments. But when it comes down to the children, uh, the earlier they go to bed, the earlier they wake up. So if I said send them to bed at 9, and you decide to send them to bed at 10, and they can't wake up in the morning because they're up too late, they're no longer going to bed at 10 because they need to be in bed longer. So if they got to get up at 6 in the morning, 10 might be too late. But if they got to get up at 8 in the morning, 9 might be too early. Think about the needs of the child. Think about the age limit of the child. If you apply this to money, you spend too much on your hobbies. Well, you spend too much on clothes. To break this cycle, you need objective criteria. The budget is the ultimate objective criterion. So sit down together, not during a fight, and make that plan. Using these guidelines from financial planners like the 50-30-20 rule that I've been telling you guys about. 50% for needs, 30% for wants, 20% for savings. And use this as your starting point. If the 50% for needs is not enough and you need 80% for needs, that means you're dividing the other 20% into wants and savings. If for some reason you have a standard of living that has 90% for needs, you're going to have to split 10% between wants and savings. You might need to bring in more income so that you can have more income so that you can divide this up a little bit better. Once you have that agreed upon budget, it's the rule book. The conversation is no longer, I think you're being irresponsible. It's, let's look at the budget and we agree to what we're going to do next. We're over the dining out category. So, how should we adjust this? Either we're going to down out less or we're going to add more to the dine out budget. But that's going to mean that we're going to have to devalue or reduce something else because we're still at a salary cap. It depersonalizes the conflict. You're not criticizing your partner, you're both looking at the same facts and holding yourselves accountable to the rules that you both created together. Now, this can be used everywhere. Deciding on screen time, looking up expert recommendations, defining assets when moving in together. And that's actually a key factor. Dividing the assets when you're moving in together, when you both are living in separate houses, you both might have had a full two-bedroom apartment to get individually, and now you're moving together into a two-bedroom house, or you might be moving together into a three-bedroom house. If you have two separate houses worth of furniture, you're not going to be able to fit both houses into one house without packing out your garage. So you guys both agree what's going to go into the house and what's not, what's going to get sold and what's going to get put into storage. You want to consult a legal template on standard practices. Try to figure out fair division of labor. Use a time tracking app for a week to get objective data on where everyone's time is really going. The results might surprise you both. You might find as much as you think your partner is lazy, you might be lazier. Y'all both might spend too much downtime. Y'all might want to decide instead of complaining about who's the laziest, let's proactively spend time together tackling some of the tasks that aren't getting accomplished, which might actually put us in a better position to have more free time together. The takeaway is to find the rule book before you enter a potentially tense conversation. And then ask yourself, what are the objective standards we could use to decide this? Is there industry data, expert recommendations, a legal standard? Propose to your partner that you agree on the standard of fairness before you debate the details. It's much easier to agree to follow a pediatrician's advice ahead of time than to fight about it later. The final secret move beyond pure logic and into emotional intelligence. The greatest negotiators, people like former FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss, know that we are not rational creatures. Our decisions are driven by emotions, especially the need to feel safe and understood. These advanced tactics aren't about manipulation, they're about using tactical empathy to build trust so fast that working together becomes the only natural choice. Let's explore three powerful tactics for the world of high stakes negotiations. We have the first tactic, which is the accusation audit. This technique from Chris Voss is brilliant, counterintuitive. It's where you preemptively call out all the negative things your partner might be thinking about you. You list the worst accusations they could make about you before they get a chance to make them. In a hostage negotiation, a negotiator might say, "You probably think I'm another cop who's going to lie to you." And that is always going to end badly. Voicing that fear shows that you understand their perspective. If they believe that cops are only going to be here to sabotage the situation and the situation is always going to end badly, and you let them know that, you know that's their observation, they will believe that you understand their perspective. It diffuses the tension and makes the other person feel heard. Now let's use this at home. Imagine you need to bring up your partner's spending. You know they'll get defensive. Instead of tiptoeing around it, you lead with the negatives. Look, I need to talk to you about our finances, and you're probably going to feel like I'm about to criticize you and try to control you. You might think I'm being a nag and that I don't appreciate how hard you work. You're probably sick of having this conversation. And frankly, I feel like a broken record bringing it up. She can't call you a broken record. You already called yourself one. What does this do? It lets all that air out, and the tension is no longer going to fill that balloon. You've already voiced all of their negative feelings before they had a chance to voice them. They don't need to defend themselves anymore because it shows that you have empathy for their point of view before you even get started addressing this problem. Their likely response will be to soften up. No, it's not that. I'm just stressed about work. And just like that, you're having a real conversation about the underlying issue, which is the stress, instead of fighting about your nagging, where their excessive spending might be a catalyst for their stress relief. Now, this is a two-part technique because to get the other person to open up, mirroring is simply repeating the last 1 to 3 words they just said as a question. And you got to be careful with how often you do this because I can tell you that when I detect mirroring, it pisses me the fuck off because it lets me believe that you were not listening to the last 12 words I said before the last 3 words that you repeated. It feels super weird at first, but it does work like magic if you're sparing about it. For example, your partner says, "I'm just so tired of my job." Instead of jumping in to fix it, maybe you should look for a new job. You just mirror that. "Oh, you're tired of your job." They're going to be able to respond to that. "Yeah, I just feel like my boss doesn't respect me." You respond with, "Doesn't respect you, huh?" And then they're going to follow up with, "No, last week he presented my project to the board and barely mentioned my name. I feel like I'm doing all this work for nothing." Just by mirroring and being quiet, you guided them from a vague complaint, "tired of my job," to the emotional core of the issue, "I feel unappreciated." That's vital information that you never would have gotten if you had started the problem solving process. It makes them feel deeply heard. Now, the second part is strategic silence. which is different from ghosting. It is different from the silent treatment. After you mirror sparingly, or after you make a point, just pause, be quiet. People are conditioned to fill silence, and that discomfort will often prompt them to keep talking and reveal more. Police do this to you all the time. They bring you to the interrogation room and they'll sit there, hang out with you, eat, might ask you a couple of questions that's got nothing to do with what they brought you in for. Wait it out. Eventually, you start talking. Their job is to keep you talking because eventually you're going to give them more information than what they were supposed to get. It works. Now, people who could give two shits, because this is going to work heavily with people who um, don't do well with silence and people who are guilty of doing something. They rationalize through the silence. They legitimize through the silence. You see this in the movies, and I know that a lot of like, oh, well, life isn't like a movie. No, actually, it kind of is. Specifically because movies are facts based on a fictional story. So the way people interact with one another legitimately in life is applied to a fictional story. But the way the boss of the group sits there in silence, never says anything, and the minions are explaining everything and continue to explain everything until the guy has enough and then silences the room. The same way the boss of the company has two employees that are arguing with one another about why this situation went south until one person says the right thing and then the boss jumps in and shuts down the whole conversation. The way the captain of the police department is waiting on the police officer that's about to get suspended to explain the reason why the situation went south. And they just sit there and stare the whole time while the person continues to explain and explain and explain and explain until there's enough information on the table to take action. It also shows that you're calm and confident. And by staying silent, you're not perceived as desperate for an answer. In a heated moment, a deliberate pause can be more powerful of a tool than trying to yell over your partner. For example, you and your partner are communicating with one another, they start raising their voice. You've made it clear to them that you're not going to communicate with them in any type of conversation when you two have elevated your voices. Once you have recognized that their voice has exceeded the level of tolerance of volume, you don't have to scream at them to stop yelling at you or don't raise your voice or watch your tone or any of those comments that would be perceived as condescending. Instead, because you're not going to communicate with your partner when your partner is too loud, you immediately shut down the communication. You just stand there. You don't leave. You just stop talking. A catatonic stare. Just stop talking. Don't stop listening. Just stop talking. In that moment, your partner's going to go on a huge rant because you're no longer jumping in. They're going to get to the end of that rant. You're not going to follow up with anything. It's just quiet now. They're going to ask you, what, you ain't got nothing to say? And the first thing that you start with is deep breath, calm, and remind them we cannot communicate when our voices are echoing off of the room. You're not telling them they're being too loud. You are not telling them to silence themselves or lower their tone. You are letting them know that in order for us to communicate, we cannot hear our voices echoing off of the walls. If our voices are loud enough to be heard in another room, we need to regroup and find a way to reduce our volume so that we are the only two people involved in our conversation. That does not address anything that had the voices raised in the first place. It regulates the tone of voice in the conversation. Now, back to the argument. If there is a situation where there's a lack of information, you don't know what's going on, but you know something's wrong, you're trying to figure out what's going on, instead of talking over your partner, fussing and yelling, complaining about them specifically, you just sit back and listen to everything that has to be said. In a world that tells us to be strong, purposeful, vulnerability is going to be a superpower. It's not a weakness. So, this is going to be a strategic and authentic sharing of your fear or uncertainty to build trust. After you have dissolved the diffusion of power by silencing yourself when the breakdown of communication occurs, you'll be able to then start signaling that you are not a threat and turns a face off into a human connection. When you guys stop talking and start fighting or arguing, that is the moment where you are supposed to pause the conversation. That's the end of that round. And when the next round starts up, I am not accusing you of being a problem. I am just informing you that we have a problem that we must work together to address. But we cannot address the problem if we are talking over one another or our voices are echoing off the room because we cannot hear what the other person is saying if we're talking instead of listening. So we have to take turns. When one person talks, the other person listens, and vice versa. That's how that you're going to be able to work that out. Think of a fight over parenting styles. For example, one parent is strict, the other is lenient. The positional statement is going to be pretty firm. You need to be stricter. You're too soft. A statement of purposeful vulnerability sounds like this. Can I be honest with you? The old school folks used to come back with, can I ask you a question? Right? And after they ask you, can I ask you a question? They don't ask you a question, they just make a statement. But because you hit them with, can I ask you a question? You've got everybody's attention because they're eager to answer your question. But if you ask them, can I be honest with you? Yeah, I've been feeling really scared lately. I see some of the trouble kids are getting into, and I am terrified that if we're not firm enough, our kids will go down the wrong path. I know my fear sometimes make me too rigid, but I am just so worried about them. The first statement starts a fight. The second invites empathy. It frames your strictness not as an attack, but as a result of your own fear. It allows your partner to connect with your emotion. I get that you're scared, rather than react to your position. You think I'm a bad parent. It's incredibly disarming and opens the door to talk about how to address that shared fear together. Your challenge here is to pick one of these advanced tactics: the accusation audit, minimalistic mirroring, or purposeful vulnerability. With purposeful vulnerability and mirroring, you have the opportunity to provide strategic silence to mitigate appropriate communication. You want to try it in your next difficult conversation that's going to be coming up over the next few weeks. These tools take practice. The more often you use them, the better things will get for you. But they are the key to unlocking a level of trust that you might not have thought was even possible. So, we've gone from the corporate boardroom right into your living room. We've seen the same principles that create billion-dollar deals and resolves global conflict can also end the cycle of arguments in your most important relationships. You now have a powerful new framework separate from the person that is being accused of being the problem. Because when you separate the person from the problem, you can focus on their true interests, invent new solutions, and anchor your joint decisions in fairness and use tactical empathy to connect with your partner. Now, learning these skills is one thing, but making them a habit is another. In order for you guys to put this into practice, you're going to be able to see a lot of this stuff in our membership. We're going to have a relationship negotiation cheat sheet that's going to summarize all five of these secrets with key phrases and questions that you can use. If you don't see it in the archives of the membership, send me a message and let me know, and I'll get it back to you. You'll be able to pull it up on your phone right before a tough conversation and remind yourself of the game plan. Um, this is going to be information that you can access straight out of the membership. Now, it's your turn. Which of the secrets resonated with you the most? Which one of these tactics are you going to try first? Make sure that you let me know in the comments section because I read every single one. And your feedback helps me create more content that actually makes a difference for you. The goal of a business deal isn't just to win, it's to reach an argument, or not an argument, but reach a solution to an argument by finding an agreement that both sides want to uphold. The goal in your personal relationship isn't to win an argument. There is no victory in making the person you love feel like they've lost. The true victory is reaching an agreement, an arrangement that strengthens your bond and lasts a lifetime. The person you share your life with is not your advisory, they are your partner in the most important joint venture you will ever have. So it's time to start negotiating like that. Shift your mindset from winning a battle to solving a problem together. There's a house divided will never succeed. So you guys are supposed to stay together. Be tough on the problem, but soft on the person. Get curious about their world. Expand your idea of what's possible. Be fair and be empathetic. You have the tools. Now, make sure that you guys build something that is going to last longer than the statistical average. So, we have covered all of the ways that you guys can use business level negotiations in your relationships. I want you guys to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you guys this information to help you guys become higher value men, which means, fellas, that you guys can take this information and utilize it to help yourself making better decisions in both your business life and your personal life. Now, ladies, this is not gender exclusive information. Y'all can take this information and apply it to yourselves as well to help y'all become higher valued women. Once you guys start applying yourselves to improving the things that you are dissatisfied with in your lives, you then can find a way to make better life goals that you will be satisfied with in your future. I know that sounds redundant, but you have to find the problem and fix the problem that you are proactively in control of before you can start finding a solution to how to fix the problem. Because when you find a problem and you figure out how to fix it, then you can take action on it. But you have to take action on it. Now, with that being said, tomorrow is going to be our questions and comments from the fans. We got a pretty good show coming up for Monday because we're going to be talking about how they're militarizing Memphis, Tennessee, and some other states around the United States. We're going to be talking about how the budget negatively impacts the American tax dollars, and we're going to be talking about what we're going to be doing about that, navigating around that. Stay tuned for what we're going to be posting up for Tuesday night show, but we have Wednesday through Saturday already up there. And I think Thursday and Friday of the following week already up there. So you should see the next 7 days lined up by the end of tomorrow night. So I want to remind you guys one more time on my way out. Make sure that you guys take the time to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitch, follow us on Twitter, and make sure that you hit that notification bell because as we are live 7 nights a week, we do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. So I want you guys to be here when we do start. Thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground.